Today we're going to talk about a cool feature in Power BI where you can now save Power BI files as Power BI projects and then use a Git repository to do source control and then sync that with your workspaces in the cloud. Let's see what you need to do to enable that. If I go to File, Options and Settings, and go to Options, this is a preview feature, so remember it is in preview. To activate it, go to Preview Features and then Power BI Project. Click that button and then hit OK. Now you'll have to restart Power BI, I think. Well, looks like we don't have to this time. So now, if you want to save this file, you can go to File, Save As, and then let's go up to Documents, Power BI files, and now I have an option to save it as what's called a PBIP file. Okay, so let's save that, and once I save it, let's go see what that looks like in File Explorer. Now you can see I've got these two folders, one that's the .dataset, and one that's .report, and they're file folders that are, and then this one down here is a PBI project. This PBI project is linked to these two folders. And if you look inside of these folders, they contain JSON files and other files that make up your Power BI report. And they can be stored in a Git repository. Now, let's go and see what that Git repository would look like. So here I have DevOps. Currently, if you want to link a Git repository to a workspace in Power BI, you can only use Azure DevOps. Hopefully they'll open up more repositories, but right now, only Azure DevOps. You can see here I've got a project called Power BI and Git. If I open up that project in DevOps, I can go to my repos, and you can see here I've got a repo with some that .dataset and that .report folder in it. And I've got a few different branches. You can see I'm in my dev branch right now. I've got a main branch and I've got a test branch. And the reason I have those is because I have each of these linked to a Power BI workspace that's inside of a deployment pipeline. Here's my deployment pipeline. I've got student reporting dev, student reporting test, student reporting prod. And if I look at these different workspaces, you can see that I've got these two reports in it. And I've got the report and the visualization, the data set and the report. And those two are combined in each one. They match between the two. And if I go look at one of these workspaces, you'll notice I have this new column called Get Status and a new button here called Source Control that opens up this window where I can do changes and updates. Changes are when you make a change here in the cloud or publish a change, and updates are when you make a change to the Git repository. So let's kind of see how this works. First off, in order to get this Git Status and Source Control, you need to click this button, the ellipses, go to Workspace Settings, and then go to your Git integration. And here, you can connect to a repository. You'll have to connect with a DevOps account here like I have, and then you'll select your organization, your project, your Git repository. If you have a folder in there, you can select a specific folder, and then which branch you want. Notice how I'm in the dev branch connected to my dev workspace. If we go look at the test workspace and go to our workspace settings, I am connected to the test branch. And then if I go to my production, go to workspace settings, go to Git, you can see I'm in my main branch. And so that it's just one way for how you can integrate your workspaces with your different repository and pipelines, and however you want to do your application lifecycle management. This is just one method, not the method, but one method that you can use. So let's see how this works. I'm going to open up this final report here in the cloud and make a change. It's going to be a very simple change. I'm just going to change, if I go to edit, I'm just going to change the font color of this to blue. Okay, and then I can save that here. Now that it's been saved, and I'll go back to my workspace. You'll see in just a minute that I have an uncommitted change. That is uncommitted, meaning that it has not been pushed back to my Git repository. Okay, so I go to source control, and you can see here I've got changes. One item has changed. I select this. If there are multiple items that have changed, you can select only the ones you want to push. And then I will commit them. I would recommend adding a commit message. So change the title, font, color, to blue, or whatever color, turquoise, etc. Hit commit, and what it's doing now is it's syncing those changes back to your Power BI project files that are stored in your Git repository. Now, I already have these in the cloud. When you connect to a Git repository and you already have reports and data sets, it will automatically create those folders in your repository, your Azure DevOps repository. If you have data marts or data flows, those are not supported right now in the Git repositories, and so those will not sync. It'll just say unsupported in the Git status. Data sets and reports, however, are supported, and so they will show up with this status. So now if I go back here, you can see I've got these changes made, and then what I can do is I can open this up in Visual Studio Code and then look at the look at the reports, make a change to the file there, and go from there. So if I go to my documents, I have a DevOps folder here. And in my DevOps folder, I actually need to clone the project that I'm working in right now down to this folder. So I can hit this clone button, and I can clone in VS Code. So let's open that up. Okay, so let me just get this synced. Okay, now that I have that syncing, you can see now what I did is I clicked clone in VS Code. It came up with a menu where I had to select the folder I wanted it to go into, which is my DevOps folder. Now I have this Power BI and Git folder here. And inside of there, I have an empty folder. It's still syncing things down. Let me come in and sign in. And then once it's signed in, then I now can see the the report, the dataset folders that are stored in my Git repository. And if I look in VS Code, just get that here. Yes, I trust the authors. And I can look at the different files. So you can look at this file. Here's your item config, your metadata, your model, and this right here is where you can see right here, this is a Power Query. This is the M code that's stored and connects to your data, which is pretty cool, right? And then if you look at your visualizations, you can come in here and see here's a visual, and it has a description, what the source is. That's a custom visualization right there. So you can look and see every single piece of your report, whether it's a model, a DAX measure, or a visualization. Everything is stored here, which is really, really cool. Okay? And you can even see differences. If you want to use this to see differences, you can open that up. But for now, since some of you may not be familiar with VS Code, we'll just close that for now. What I can do is I can actually go to my report and I can open up this definitions.pbir file. Let me close this quickly. We'll save the changes there. I can open up this definitions.pbir file, and I will be able to open this and see that the font color has changed. Just take a minute to open, and maybe through the magic of video editing, it will speed up. Okay, here we go. The file is now open. Now, hit enable. I have some refresh things that are not working. Let's go apply changes. Refresh now. Now this, remember, is because this is technically doesn't have a data model connected to it. It's just like the report definition piece. Normally you would have a PBIP file, the project report that you could open up that we saw. If I go back up here and up again, inside of this, normally you would have this file to work with. If you start from the cloud and go down to your machine, though, you won't have that file to work with. So just keep that in mind. This has to load the data, and that will take a minute to load. While that data is refreshing down here in my desktop, you can see since I made a change, I can hit compare now, and you can see that the report is different between these two. And you could easily just deploy this, select this, deploy, and that would sync the change over here. In fact, let's do that right now. So let's deploy this report. And we'll say that I changed the title font to blue, and then hit deploy. Then we'll go look at the test workspace and see how that can sync to Git. So here we are in test, and in a minute we should see that the Git status will say uncommitted. So let's refresh that page. And then you can see source control, uncommitted. We changed that color, it has been made. Change font color to blue, and then commit that change. So that's one way to do it, where you deploy and then commit the change back to your source control. You can also do what's called a pull request. If you go down to your pull request right here, you can create a new pull request, and that would essentially take what you have in dev branch and move it to the test branch. And then you would sync that with your workspace. So let's make another, in fact, let's see what we have. Okay, so now this is refreshed. Let's come in here. If we change this to yellow and save it. Now what we'll see, if I come to VS Code, is that there is going to be a change that needs to be committed. Several changes actually. And so I can stage those changes to be committed to my dev branch. Actually, let's see. I want it to be dev. Let's migrate the changes. So I needed to be connected to my dev branch and not my main branch. Okay. So let me quickly just close this. I'm not going to save my changes. Okay. We have our dev branch synced now. So I'm going to open this up. Now that the dev branch has synced, let's open this up And we should see the blue color in our report. There's the blue color. Okay. And now I can change that to yellow. And then I will save that file. Once that has saved, we'll close it. Save. And then here you can see that there is a change made. So I'm ready to stage these changes, add a commitment, message change, title, font, color to yellow. And then I can commit those changes. And then I will need to sync my changes. And once those sync, we'll see that in the Power BI workspace, we have to get some changes from the repository and sync them with the Power BI workspace. Okay, looks like that has completed. So now we come here, refresh the page. In fact, let's go to our repository and we can look and see the commits. There's the one that I just did, change title font color to yellow. That was just now. So I come here and you can look, there's update required. I have unseek commits from Git. Recommend updating those before you continue working. So you hit source control, go to updates, and hit update all. That will then change these to reflect the changes that we just made. So once those have synced, here we can open up the report and we will be able to see, it looks like there is a conflict with the report. So let's go here. Select that, add a change, resolving conflicts, and hit commit. And that was the data set. We had refreshed the data down in the Power BI file on our machine, our local machine, and so that needed to just sync. So now if I open up the report, we'll see that the font color is yellow, which is great. Go back here to our workspace, and then if we go to our deployment pipeline and refresh the page, we'll notice that now things don't match. But instead of deploying the change from dev to test, where you can hit compare, you can see that we've got some things that are different. Instead of deploying the change, what I want to do is go to my repository and create a new pull request. I'm going to go from dev into test. Enter a title. So I made a change here. Probably the easiest way is to just select these, deploy, add a message, and deploy it. Then you have, your changes synced between the two. Now we will have to update the test repository here. So once that copies the items over, then we will go to the workspace and sync the changes to our Git repository. And we'll be good to go. And this process you can do between dev, test, and production. Okay, now that that's been done, let's go to test, refresh the page. In just a minute, we'll be able to see that the Git status has changed. Uncommitted, source control, select those items, change title, font, color to yellow, and commit. And then the test is now going to be updated. Okay, great. And then we can even go look at our branches and go to test, and we can see change from title color to yellow. That was just now, and everything's all synced together. So this is a great way for you to be able to include Git in your Power BI process. Now do remember that this is still in preview, So there may be a few bugs here and there, and also remember that only a DevOps repository connected to a project can be used right now. Hopefully that'll open up in the future, but we just won't know until we find out. So good luck as you try this out, and if you have any questions, please mention in the comments. I'll be happy to get back to you. Thank you, and we'll talk to you later. Bye.